To solve this equation by the quadratic formula, we must first set this equation equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. So we have x squared minus 11x minus 18 equals 0. Now we must identify our a, b, and c. A is the coefficient in front of the x squared term. So in this case, a equals 1. B is the coefficient in front of the linear term. In this case, b equals negative 11. And c is the constant. In this case, negative 18. So the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x equals negative b. In this case, negative 11 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 11 squared minus 4, a is 1, and c is negative 18, all over 2a, 2 times 1. Now we can simplify. Negative 11 becomes positive 11, plus or minus negative 11 squared, which is 121, minus, we have a 4, a 1, and a negative 18. 4 times negative 18 is negative 72, all over 2. A negative 72 results in a positive, so we have 11 plus or minus 121 plus 72 over 2. So we have positive 11 plus or minus 193 over 2. Now 193 does not, the square root of 193 does not break down anymore. So that's our final answer. Our final two answers are 11 plus the square root of 193 over 2, or 11 minus the square root of 193 over 2. To solve any equation by the quadratic formula, the first thing you want to do is set the entire equation equal to 0. It's always a good idea to have your squared term positive. So we're going to add 7n squared to both sides. And we're going to subtract 5 to both sides. So we have 0 equals 7n squared minus 10n minus 5. Another thing that's helpful with the quadratic formula is to leave your squared term first, followed by your linear term, followed by your constant. Now in the quadratic formula, a is represented by the quadratic term. So a equals 7. B is represented by the linear term. So b equals negative 10. And c, the constant, is represented by the number. So c equals negative 5. Now we need to use the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is n equals negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what we need to do is plug into the different components. So n equals negative b. So b is negative 10, so we're going to put a negative 10 in for b. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, so b was negative 10, so we're going to put that in again, minus 4 times a was 7, times c was negative 5, all over 2a, a was again positive 7. Once we have substituted in, we're going to simplify. I'm going to simplify very slowly. So negative 10 becomes positive 10, plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared, which is 100, minus, now we're going to multiply 4 times 7 times negative 5. When we multiply 4 times 7 times -5, we get negative 140 all over 14. Now, negative and negative 140 results in a positive. So we have 10 plus or minus 100 plus 140 all over 14. This simplifies to 10 plus or minus the square root of 240 over 14. We will continue in a moment. Now we need to simplify the very last thing. We need to simplify what we already have, which is n equals 10 plus or minus the square root of 240 all over 14. 240 can be broken up into 24 and 10, which can be broken up to 2 and 5, and 4 and 6, and 2 and 2, and 2 and 3. So that radical is 2 times 2 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 5. So it is 4 radical 15. So we have 10 plus or minus 4 radical 15 all over 14. At this stage, I'm going to have the division bar go to each term. So 10 divided by 14 plus or minus 4 radical 15 over 14. 10 over 14 reduces to 5/7. 4 root 15 over 14 reduces to 2 radical 15 over 7. You can leave your answer like that, or you can rewrite it as 5 plus or minus 2 radical 15 over 7. Now we've successfully solved using the quadratic formula.